In a version of Earth where giant monsters known as Titans fight often, King Kong is living in a place called the Hollow Earth. It's an ancient subterranean ecosystem deep within the planet with unique gravity and constant radioactive energy that allows the creatures in it to evolve to titanic sizes. One day Kong is being chased by giant wart dogs, so he heads toward a cliff's edge where he's prepared a trap for the beast to fall into. Kong also throws a tree trunk that activates a second trap, causing rocks to fall on his enemies. The wart dogs refuse to give up, so Kong grabs one of them and tears it in two, roaring as the blood falls on him to prove he's the boss of the area. Terrified, the wart dogs run away. Afterward, Kong washes himself in the waterfall and eats the enemy he killed, growling in pain when he discovers he has a bad tooth. Suddenly he hears a roar in the distance, and the distraction allows a huge reptile to steal the meat from him. Kong only struggles for a few seconds before letting it go, more interested in what he just heard. He follows the noise but only finds a random little animal and not more like him as he thought. Meanwhile, on the surface, Dr. Eileen works for Monarch, an organization who keeps an eye on the global threats posed by Titans. She has a special system to watch them all and make sure they aren't getting in trouble. Eileen is worried about Kong because he's from a social species and he shouldn't be alone. Whenever a bad monster appears to destroy a city, the legendary Godzilla comes out of his home in the ocean to fight them and keep humanity safe. In Rome, a giant spider-like monster starts terrorizing the streets and Godzilla immediately appears to attack it, destroying some buildings in the process. After throwing the beast around, Godzilla makes it explode with his atomic breath. He celebrates the victory with a roar and goes to nap inside the Colosseum. At a Monarch outpost in Hollow Earth, the researchers detect heavy energy readings coming from the sinkhole from Kong's wart dog trap. Eileen is immediately alerted about this and she flies to the Hollow Earth access point in Barbados, where Director Hampton shows her pretty high spikes in their sensor array. Meanwhile, in the Monarch Base Academy, Eileen's adopted daughter Gia starts feeling dizzy in class. She closes her eyes and her hands moves on its own as snow starts falling inside the room. Suddenly she has a vision involving the Titans and the teacher wakes her up, only to discover she unintentionally made drawings all over her schoolwork in the desk. After class, Gia must clean her desk and the teachers tell Eileen that Gia is having trouble fitting in. Using sign language, Eileen tries to talk to Gia, who just says she's worried about Kong and that she doesn't feel like she belongs on the surface. It turns out Gia is the last member of the Iwi tribe from Skull Island, Kong's original home. Later at home, Eileen realizes that Gia's drawings match the spikes from the sensor array. At the same time in Hollow Earth, an unknown Titan destroys the outpost. This causes Gia to wake up from a nightmare and Eileen has to promise there's nothing wrong with her. The next day Eileen travels to Miami to find conspiracy podcaster Bernie, who has helped her with Titans before. He agrees to team up with her again as long as he gets to visit Hollow Earth. At that moment, Eileen receives an alert about another energy surge that even Godzilla senses. He immediately leaves Rome to search for the source, destroying more buildings in the way. At the same time, the access point opens and everyone in the base panics, but it's just Kong, who asks for help with his tooth. While the scientists give Kong a sedative, veterinarian Trapper flies over in his special aircraft and uses it to pull out Kong's bad tooth, replacing it with a very strong metallic prosthetic. Afterwards, Bernie tells Eileen that he's realized each spike matches a Titan appearing on the surface. His analysis concludes this energy is a distress call from Hollow Earth. Hampton authorizes a team to go down there, so pilot Mikael takes Eileen, Bernie, Trapper, and Gia in his very advanced aircraft and they follow Kong when he jumps back into the access point. The trip is full of crazy lights and shaking that makes Bernie feel like he's high, but it's quite safe and soon they make it to Hollow Earth. A bunch of vertisigns start flying near them, so Trapper explains they're harmless and activates the camouflage in the ship to blend in. Meanwhile, a Monarch team rushes to France, where a nuclear power plant is on fire. The soldiers find giant paw prints nearby and discover Godzilla is there absorbing all the radiation to charge himself up. As his body starts to glow, Monarch jets fly in to try to stop him, but Godzilla swats at them before bringing them down by expelling blue energy. Hampton informs Eileen that Godzilla is clearly preparing for something, but the connection soon ends because of the energy in Hollow Earth. Eileen's team reaches the Monarch outpost and is devastated to find all the scientists dead and the building absolutely destroyed. There's a bloody paw print on the stone walls that doesn't belong to Kong, and Trapper says it's a call for war. They find an unbroken security camera and hope they can get answers from it. Elsewhere, Kong gets his axe before jumping into the sinkhole he created the other day. He finds a bunch of glowing crystals but also the bones of creatures like him. After hearing some roars in the distance, he crosses a waterfall and discovers an uncharted subterranean realm. A shadow begins moving toward him and he meets a young primate named Suko. Kong tries to approach him peacefully, but Suko bites his hand and summons more apes to attack. They tackle Kong and quickly disarm him to then use his own axe against him, but Kong is still stronger and easily pushes them away. When Suko jumps on Kong's face, he grabs him and uses him as a club to beat up the other apes. As they fight, one of the apes almost falls off a cliff, but Kong grabs him and pulls him up to safety. However, the ungrateful ape tries to stab Kong with a bone dagger, so Kong kicks him off the cliff. The final ape tries to run away in fear and Kong throws a rock at it before it leaves. Afterward, Kong roars at Zuko to establish dominance and asks where the blade comes from, so Zuko becomes his guide. Eventually, Zuko brings Kong to a watering hole to have a drink while acting suspicious. Suddenly, a gigantic serpent monster comes out of the water and attacks Kong, trapping him with its long body to squeeze him. Zuko immediately runs away, but suddenly the axe blocks his way. It turns out Kong easily decapitated the monster. Then he takes a break to eat the serpent and even shares it with Zuko, who is surprised that he's being fed after leading Kong to a trap. In the aircraft, Eileen accesses the security footage and discovers an ape destroyed the outpost. Suddenly, an energy surge causes their ship to start going down, but thankfully Mikhail regains control just in time. Gia can sense where the surge came from, so they land the ship and follow her directions through the jungle. Trapper starts smelling something weird and says they should turn around, but Mikhail ignores him and announces he's in charge. At that moment, a tree creature eats him whole and the group runs away. Eileen tries calling for help, but her device isn't working. After wandering around for a while, Gia finds some old ruins that seem to belong to the Iwi tribe. There's a big structure at the back with a decoration of Mothra, the queen of the monsters. A glowing bug suddenly lies on a triangle on the wall, so Gia presses it and causes water to come out. They follow it through the structure and find an organic protective veil. When Trapper touches it, it starts glowing and Gia opens it to reveal the subterranean realm. In Spain, people run in panic as a charged-up Godzilla crosses the city and returns to the ocean. A Monarch submarine tracks his trajectory and deduces he's going to the Arctic Ocean, where a very aggressive titan called Tiamat lives. The researchers determine that if Godzilla kills Tiamat, he will become supercharged. A few hours later, the Monarch submarine reaches Tiamat's domain and notices the titan's energy is distorting their radar. Suddenly, a light brightens the area. It's Godzilla's atomic breath, which is causing some serious damage to the submarine while destroying a layer of ice to wake up the other titan. Tiamat quickly comes out glowing magenta and uses its body to trap Godzilla, who retaliates by biting a chunk of its flesh. Tiamat immediately bites back and Godzilla starts to charge up by absorbing its energy, causing an atomic beam that even reaches the surface. The mighty Tiamat becomes sushi and Godzilla enters its lair, where it rests as it absorbs all the energy in the area. Back to Eileen's team, they hear a noise and suddenly get surrounded by warriors with spears. However, they also recognize Gia and decide to take the group with them. They reach a glowing cave and realize this is an entire Iwi civilization, who communicate with each other through telepathy. On the ceiling they notice various vortex portals, which could potentially take them all over Earth. The leader of the tribe touches Gia's hands and they both share memories. The leader shows Gia the life of the tribe and in return Gia shows her life on the surface. The leader is pleased and orders her guards to let the rest of the team go. The group is taken to a crystal formation and Eileen realizes that the distress signal came from here. They send it with the big crystal to warn Godzilla about an incoming danger. Further into the Iwi's temple, some special water is poured to light up the place, revealing the Iwi history on the walls, which Eileen translates. Long ago, the great apes were humanity's protectors, but a ruthless leader known as the Scar King led an army of apes to try and attack the surface world in a war against Godzilla and his species. Godzilla stepped in and trapped the Scar King and his army in Hollow Earth to prevent them from attacking again. However, this danger will come back and Godzilla is now charging for it. Only a direct descendant of the Iwi will be able to reawaken Queen Mothra to bring back peace. Meanwhile, Kong follows Zuko on a bridge made of bones and enters a very hot area where he's shocked to discover other great apes being held as slaves and forced into hard labor. When a guard punishes a worker, Kong comes to help and earns the guard's fury. Kong just punches the ape down and demands to see the monster in charge. At that moment, the Scar King comes out and sees King's metal tooth, so all the apes laugh at him. Then Scar King tries to punish Zuko for bringing Kong, only for the worker from before to defend him. The Scar King kicks the ape into a pit of lava and Kong roars to complain. A fight ensues with Kong using his axe while Scar King uses a whip made from another titan's spine. This weapon almost chokes Kong to death, but he manages to grab Scar King and throw him off. Refusing to lose, Scar King uses a glowing crystal at the end of his whip and reveals Shimo, the titan that caused the Ice Age. The whip crystal causes Shimo lots of pain, so it's forced to obey Scar King. It breathes an ice beam toward Kong, who tries to deflect it with his axe. However, the blast is too powerful and it envelopes Kong's arm in ice, causing it to get frostbite. Kong is too weak to fight, so Zuko calls him to lead him out of the cave. Dodging another ice beam, Kong manages to run away while the other apes steal his axe. They soon start chasing after Kong, who runs fast and releases trap after trap to bring down a bunch of enemies. Eventually he's cornered against a rock wall and the apes dodge another trap trigger, only for the rocks to fall anyway and crush them. It turns out Zuko activated the trap. Kong is still in pain, so Zuko helps him move and together they make their way to see the humans, unaware that an ape survived and is following them. In the meantime, Gia connects with other Iwi teens and finally feels like she belongs. Bernie records everything he sees, amazed by the Iwi's use of crystals to build their civilization. Suddenly a horn alarm wails and the Iwi rush to open the veil, finding Kong with his wounded arm. This is seen by the enemy ape, who immediately leaves to report to its boss. Scar King gathers an army and leads them while riding Shimo, ready to start an invasion while Zuko sees them from afar. In the Arctic, Godzilla awakens and breaks the ice, showing its new magenta glow. Back to Kong, he's too weak and falls to the ground, so Gia tries to tell him they'll take care of him. Trapper scans the injury and announces he's been working on a device called Operation Powerhouse, which he designed to give Kong a boost in case another powerful Titan appeared. He goes back to the destroyed outpost to bring a bunch of pieces and reveals a giant glove that he puts around Kong's injured arm. It takes Kong a moment to get used to it, but soon he regains mobility and punches the ground, pleased with the result. At that moment Zuko comes to warn them about Scar King's plans, so Kong immediately jumps through a vortex portal to appear in the middle of Egypt, damaging the pyramids and causing people to fall. In Gibraltar, Godzilla hears Kong's roar and jumps into the sea to go find him. At the same time in Hollow Earth, the Iwi get Gia ready and the girl approaches a large crystal, using her hand to activate some gold energy. This wakes up Mothra, who thanks Gia before flying to the surface. Then the Iwi start evacuating the cave. After destroying bridges with his swimming, Godzilla reaches Egypt, where Kong tries to explain the situation. However, Godzilla thinks Kong wants to attack humanity and pushes him against the pyramids. A fight ensues and Kong manages to land some good punches thanks to his mechanic arm. Then he grabs Godzilla's tail and starts dragging him toward the portal, only for Godzilla to glow and shoot his atomic breath, destroying more pyramids. He pushes Kong down and charges again, but this time Mothra appears and pushes him back. Gia also appears and together with Mothra they use telepathy to finally explain the situation. Godzilla roars to agree to team up. Aline's team follow the Iwi to the area underneath the pyramids, where they pour a red liquid into the water that causes the crystals to move. Hopefully this will create a gravity surge that will hold the evil titans back. At that moment Scar King breaks the veil and comes inside, making Shimo freeze the crystals before they can finish the process. Trapper gets on his aircraft and brings over a bunch of vertisigns, who attack the ape army with bioelectricity. While the group escapes in Trapper's ship, Shimo shoots ice again to scare the vertisigns away. Thankfully Godzilla and Kong show up and jump to meet with Scar King and Shimo at the same time the crystals release the surge. The gravity causes the titans to float around, but that doesn't stop them from attacking each other whenever they have the chance. Trapper's ship almost gets smacked too, but Mothra comes in to protect them in the portals. Some ape soldiers try to join the fight so Zuko jumps in too, throwing rocks at them to keep them away. Shimo shoots ice at Godzilla and almost freezes him, however Mothra distracts it and Godzilla breaks the ice with its magenta charge. Then Mothra catches Trapper's ship and puts it down while Zuko kicks an ape guard off to its death. Kong recovers his axe from the enemy and exchanges blows with Scar King and his whip, but sadly Kong loses his axe again when a portal opens and drags all the titans to Brazil. The people on the beach immediately run away in panic as the waves freeze and the titans break through the ice. Scar King makes Shimo unleash its ice powers, causing the sky to go black before it starts freezing the city too. Suddenly Godzilla shoots an atomic beam at Shimo at the same time that Kong punches Scar King, causing him to lose a tooth. The fight continues among the four titans as they throw each other all over the place, destroying dozens of buildings. After Scar King tosses a building with his whip, he and Shimo attack Kong together, forcing him to use the glove to protect himself from an incoming ice beam. At that moment Godzilla finishes charging and shoots at Scar King, who dodges the attack and retaliates with his whip. Godzilla catches it with his mouth and uses it to throw Scar King down before breaking it, causing the crystal to fall. While Kong continues to be under Shimo's beam, Godzilla shoots at Scar King again, who jumps to dodge and recover the crystal, only for Godzilla to shoot it out of his hand. Then Godzilla jumps on Shimo to attack it while Kong and Scar King begin fighting to get to the crystal. Suddenly Zuko appears with the axe and shatters the crystal, which sends a shockwave that throws all the titans back. Shimo quickly recovers and realizes it isn't under Scar King's control anymore. When Kong and Godzilla start throwing Scar King around like a tennis ball, Shimo shoots his ice beam and freezes its slaver as revenge. Now Kong can throw him on the ground to shatter him to death while Godzilla uses his breath to clean up the sky. With the fight finally over, Mothra takes Gia back to the Hollow Earth and the girl confirms she wants to keep living on the surface with Eileen. Mothra repairs the veil, and a tired Godzilla returns to rest at the Colosseum. Kong and Zuko ride Shimo back to the ape tribe, where Kong earns the gratitude of the slaves and becomes their new leader. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.